You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
You're listening to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by Phil Better, Inc. If you want to take your podcast to the next level, make sure you book your free 15-minute call with Phil Better, the Podcast Mogul, at www.philbetterinc.com. I want to thank you so much for being a guest here on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Before we get started, I'm just going to ask you, can you give us just a brief intro about yourself so my audience can get to know you?
Absolutely. So first of all, Phil, thank you for having me on Invest in Yourself. I'm, excited to be here. And so I'm a business coach, and I've been coaching for over 20 years, worked with thousands of entrepreneurs. And my focus is really enabling businesses to identify their game of business. I find that most people think what they sell, their products or services, is their business. And my argument is that's actually just the vehicle. That's the vehicle for how you create value. Your business is how you create value. So that's really my mission. I work with independently owned businesses. I'm a passionate advocate because they have such an impact in their community. And now, of course, with digital, that's global. And I wrote a book that is part of that positioning. It's called Up Solutions, Turning Your Team into Heroes and Your Customers into Raving Fans.
I love the title, first of all, and I love how you're concentrating on helping the team grow the business as well, because they're just as important as your customers, and that's something I fully agree with. As well as previous guest, the Doctor of Customer Service, Dr. Kelly, he promotes that as well. So I love seeing another great Canadian promoting that. What am I saying? I'm being humble here. Canadians are great. So what got you into jumping into this world of being a digital entrepreneur, an entrepreneur helping other entrepreneurs?
Well, so interesting. Being a digital entrepreneur this past year, the pandemic has definitely impacted, the whole idea of online marketing. But I actually started delivering programs virtually in 1997. And it was just really, and back in those days, you had to build your own membership site. There was none of this, back then. Yes, it was all custom built, and trying to figure out, what was too much and where did people bog down. And, that was all fun. But it really, I started this whole focus I have in the idea, and you were talking about with Dr. Kelly, the customer experience. I think understanding that every business, the value created is in your customer's perception. So enabling businesses to identify who their best customers are, what's important to them, and how do you position what you offer as a solution. That actually started back when I was in university, and I worked in a small bookstore, chain bookstore, but I had a really good manager. And the manager, we were all trained that as soon as somebody came in the store, we stopped what we were doing. Welcome. Can we help you? Are you looking for something? If they were, then we took them to the section, put the book in their hand. Not it's over there in aisle 4. And, if we didn't have it, could we order it in? Could we, offer an alternative? And it was very customer focused. And the experience stayed with me. First of all, as a team member, it was fun. The shifts went by fun. We had very little turnover. Mostly, this is a university town, so mostly students working part-time, but very little turnover. And at the end of the year, that store, this is the late 80s, that store was budgeted to do 500,000 gross revenue, and we did just over $1 million.
That is the power of customer service right there.
Yes. We had so many people that would pop in, like on a regular basis, people would pop in and say, we've been to almost every store in this mall. This is the only one we really felt welcomed. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, that's the best compliment anybody can get. Like you from being in the service industry most of my life, most university kids and most people have gone through that sluggish life of having to serve other people because it's the only job we're capable of, when in reality we can do nearly anything. And getting those compliments, like I know getting that compliment means dealing with those horrible Karens and Tylers and all those bad customers you would get, but getting that one, like, thank you so much, you've helped me, or you're the best at your job, and that just makes your life feel better. So I'm glad that you learned that like back in the 80s when it was still prevalent, and you're teaching people about that now, because I think businesses forgot that.
Yes. Well, and tying that together, I've been an advocate for a while that we actually have, for independently owned businesses, we have new business rules. And I think this is the impact of the internet, right? The internet has changed the market. We used to have very local based marketplace. Even if it was a national change, it was a local market. And now, of course, we have a global market. So every business has to rethink their business. And I think there are new business rules. And one is that you have to shift from focusing on sales to focusing on solutions. It's not, how many widgets can you sell? It's what's the solution and how are you creating solutions for your target? And so complementary to that, you have to shift your focus from transactions to relationship. Yeah. No business, there's two pieces, you can't afford, I'm trying to think of how do I say this? It's kind of like, you can't afford to not fully, if you have a target audience and they walk in or they connect with your business in some way, you cannot afford to not meet them, meet their needs, and create a solution for them so that you start building ongoing relationships. No business can afford to not do that anymore. You can't have, poor service attrition. No business can afford it anymore.
No, it's because there's a billion businesses out there that can replace you in an instant. You need to be able to make that one-on-one connection, because that connection you make with that client that soon becomes a customer, that becomes an advocate, that's the journey you want. You want to become, they're interested, they become a customer, then a client, and then they're an advocate. And that's the biggest thing, because I found through my business of podcast production, most of my clients end up coming from previous clients that have worked with me or guests on the show, and they're like, they've had such a fun time, or they see the passion behind it and the success that I have, and that just builds it up. And it's all about making that initial connection, the initial je ne sais quoi, if you will.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I want to get on something, because obviously you've been you must have some success since you've been going since 1997 with your selling different products. I want to just switch up. And what would you consider maybe your first failure, either in life or in business, that taught you something?
Well, the two actually come to mind. The first one was I was good at getting something off the ground, and I didn't know how to build a team to go beyond my own effort. And that's actually, I came across a program called Strategic Coach in 1997, and that was a pivotal shift of how I was thinking about what my business is. And, the entrepreneur behind Strategic Coach, Dan Sullivan, along with Ben Hardy, just recently published a book called Who Not How. And I think for every entrepreneur, digital, brick and mortar, doesn't matter. You need to read the book, because it's your job as the entrepreneur is to create the idea. It's to come up with the solution. It's to identify the opportunity. And then the next step is to find who can do that for you. The moment you get into figuring out how do I make this happen, you're in the weeds, right? It bogs you down. And that's when I didn't know how to get out of. So now that I have this team around me, any change in the business, I literally just pulled the right team members together. We talk through what I'm thinking, and then off they go. And it's like, and especially today, it's ridiculously inexpensive to get talent working on your ideas.
Oh yeah.
Global marketplace, Upwork.
Fiverr if you need, even if you can't afford Upwork, there's Fiverr that's just a little lower, and you can find those. And there's the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, which I'm in the process of reading, but I'm also reading his other book, Tools of the Titans, which is amazing because it has all his interviews pretty much bogged down to this core stuff. So yeah, the 4-Hour Work Week, finding those VAs, finding those external, because you don't have to hire from inside your community because you have access to the global community now.
You do. Yeah. So that's a big, huge opportunity. The next one for me that was the failure is I'd had success. I launched the program called the Profit Generator, turning your customer experience into profit in 1997. And in 2011, in 2007, not 1997, but 2007. So in 2007 and 2011, I decided everyone was doing these aggregate, these online pieces free, and then you buy the VIP package. Yeah, that's right. So I put one together. It was a huge amount of work. And it was called the Online Business Growth University. And at the beginning, I thought, oh, this will be an annual thing. This will be so much fun. And at the end, it was so much work. And I just remember being really down. I was back to being stuck in the weeds. And one of the things, it didn't generate the return I was expecting. I sold packages, but they were small compared to what it put it all on. But what's interesting, I was so stuck in the weeds of being disappointed about the business results. I built a list of 1,000 people. I completely missed it. By the time I figured that out, it was a year later and too late to have that be an active list. That was the cost of being stuck on an expectation without paying attention to what did I really get? Because often when we move forward, it's, it doesn't go the way we think it's going to go. But what happens is actually what we need to pay attention. If I'd actually worked that list, that 1,000 people probably could have turned into the business results I was looking to produce. And it took me too long to get over that it didn't go the way, and it was a lot of work, right? Again, 2011, I built everything. I learned code.
You went, I'm going to do this one person team because I can do it. I have all the skills
I had some team members, like I had a web guy who created the infrastructure, but I was there every day changing code, posting videos, and it was.
you were the one-man show or the one-woman show, if you will.
Yeah. Too much so.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what a lot of people think when they get into podcasting. They think they can do it by themselves, but if you don't have that team behind you, you're going to get bogged down in the weeds because you're going to end up spending too much time editing a podcast, or you're going to spend too much time writing your copy or trying to figure out the best solution for this or that, and you end up wasting so much time. Like after 6 years of podcasting, I know I don't like editing my own podcast. I have an editor. I'll edit other people's podcasts because I like listening to podcasts because you get to learn. So yeah, I understand building the team.
And it's so important, Phil. I love that you said that for what you do, supporting people's podcasts, because we're also at a point now that podcasting is so relevant. People are listening to it. They're engaging with it, that if you're putting something out that's not professional, you lose the audience so quickly. If it hasn't been edited and there's ums and ahs and spaces, you lose people. It's like when the internet first launched and there were 7 websites, everyone came to your website. Yeah. Now, I don't know how many trillions of websites there are, but no one's going to come unless you're bringing them to your website. Yeah. And if you don't capture them, they're gone. So it's the same with podcasts.
Yeah, it is. I just read something interesting on podcasting. They're expecting the ad spending on podcasting to go to 2.7 billion by the end of 2022, which is insane because podcasting, quote unquote, is still in its infancy compared to some of the other things. But because everybody's learning from the previous, like from blogging, from YouTube videos and all this, and they see the importance of podcasting, it's now the best time to start a podcast if you haven't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great point.
It is. Now, I want to know, what is your favorite success you've had so far? It could be personal, business-wise. What is a success that you're like, this is like, I need to share with everybody?
I was really excited and happy when my book was published. And that was a 10-year project, right? I literally had, talking about who, not how, I literally had the book outline and it changed very little. I had the book outline for 10 years. But I think out loud. It's not that I can't write. It takes a lot for me to capture. Yes, to capture down. So I think out loud. And I tried speaking the book and having it transcribed and editing, and it just wasn't taking me to the level that I needed, and it wasn't flowing. So I tried to hire writers. I tried to hire writing companies and publishing. I went the whole gambit. And it wasn't that I wasn't active. I didn't find the right partner. I didn't find the right who. And when I did, it's like it just, took legs of its own. And having that come out it was definitely, and it's something that I'm happy to, talk about. I was happy about it out in the world. I was happy about the input and feedback I was getting. So that was a big one.
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of just finishing up my book on podcasting and sharing my 6 years of knowledge. So in essence, it's 6 years in the making, similar to your 10-year in the making book. So it's off with my editor now. I'm nervous because it's like my own child out in the world. So I fully get, once it's done, promoting it to no end. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having that accomplishment feel that you got with writing your book, and can definitely say that's going to be a huge success and feather in my cap. So you have this big success with your book writing. What's another goal that you have set for yourself? Like what's next for Patti?
What's next for me? Well, I'm so backstory. Launched the book January 28th, 2020. Woo!
Oh yeah, perfect time to launch a book.
Exactly. March, we go into lockdown. So my first thing was, is the book still relevant? And it's funny enough, the first chapter in the book is the opportunity and change.
Wow.
Right. So, but the first thing I did in March, lockdown happened, is I got on the phone. I started calling clients and friends that are entrepreneurs and saying, how are you? What's going on? And I talked to essential service business owners who were thriving, like they were expanding. They were, brick and mortar adding Shopify, they were adding free delivery and curbside, and they were out. And I would talk to essential service businesses that were stagnant and struggling because they weren't rethinking how do they need to make it easy for their customers. I talked to business owners that their multi-million-dollar businesses were shut down overnight. Yeah. Event staffing, photography. And so I just started, first of all, finding out where were people at, what were they struggling with. And then I started being more active on social media and blogging. And, I was going to come up with an Up Solution online business launching in the fall. Instead, it became the Business Reinvention Blueprint. So based out of what I was seeing, every business needed to rethink and what was the opportunity, and what was the hybrid, and what was showing up, and what was that communicating. So I launched that. And then interestingly, every time I do a business training, I always do a team training. I always do both ends in the same. There's a blueprint team training, because the team needs to know how to deliver what the owner entrepreneur, right? Exactly. They're the brand ambassadors, and you need to set them up for success to be brand ambassadors. So what's interesting is that's taken off. So I'm calling it the Up Solutions Team Success Training. I'm doing custom training programs now for different businesses, and it's almost like the back end of the blueprint. So what am I excited about? I'm a passionate advocate for independently owned businesses. I think it'll be our independently owned businesses, whether it's digital or it's brick and mortar or a hybrid, because really I think everything needs to be a hybrid these days. I believe it'll be our independently owned businesses that'll be the cornerstone bringing communities out of our crisis.
I am in full agreement. I think that's something I find Canadian. I don't see it very much everywhere else. When you're Canadian, you want to help your neighbor. You want to make sure that they're doing okay, reaching out, supporting the local businesses, supporting independent entrepreneurs just starting their journey. I see a lot of people helping out, especially like in the podcast community. I see that as well. Everybody wants to help bring it back to podcasting, but business wise, I see that. Like, I prefer buying local because I'll go to the local market here. It's the Atwater Market. I'll buy the fresh produce there because, one, I trust that it's coming from someone that's going to use the money and not buy a yacht. Mm-hmm. Last thing I need is someone else buying another yacht because there's too many yachts out there. But I know this farmer, this person that's growing these products themselves are using it themselves. And it's usually quality is way better, I find.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I fully support the independent entrepreneur, the independent business owner, to make them, because the tools have been cheap. The tools are now cheap to become a multi-billion-dollar business if you want. You just need to know where to invest. And that's just people like yourself, help them invest in the proper things so that they can invest in the next level.
Mm-hmm. Get clear and focused with who your market is, what's important to them. So if you're tagged in to your target audience and it has to be narrow. This is a Tony Robbins quote. You want to market narrowly, serve broadly. Mm-hmm. So until you've really defined your market so that your language is appealing to their needs, you've identified and your language is appealing to their needs, you're kind of like, it's a scatter approach and you're not going to create the results. But the moment you do, if you really understand who your target audience is, then they will always give you the next opportunity. They will always tell you what growth is possible, because if you're filling their needs, they'll tell you what next.
Mm-hmm. And it's so true. One of my clients, we're working together. He wanted just a simple podcast, and now he's like, I want a network of podcasts. And it's like, okay, let's see how to build a network. And luckily, I've had the opportunity to interview some podcasters who have built their network, so I have an understanding of there. And there's countless articles online, but this gives me the opportunity to build a network and get my hands dirty so that I can improve it for the next client as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely different viewpoint.
Oh yeah. Going from 1 to 20 is like, okay, now it's really building a team. So yes, I love that. Moving on, what would be your ultimate goal? Like, I snap my finger, 5-20 years down the line, where's Patti? What is Patti doing? Is she retired? Is she on the beach, in BC enjoying the Pacific Ocean? Or is she still grinding away helping businesses grow?
So somewhere in between. One of the, I'm going to quote Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach again, that if your goal as an entrepreneur is to leverage your talent so that you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. I mean, that really, for an entrepreneur, retirement is that you only do what you want to do when you want to do it. Why would you stop? Like, this is you creating magic in the world, just you're fully leveraged. You're staying on your side of the line. You're creating and being creative and connecting. You're not doing. Yeah. So in 20 years, I see certainly a balance. I see certainly, lots of free time that I'm not doing things business related. But at the same point in time, what I'd really like to see is that we have this global network of independent entrepreneurs who are literally, have confidence, they're positioned for success, they have an impact, and they're out there not only creating value, but being part of supporting other entrepreneurs. That we've got, I think this century that we're in, I think this is going to be the century of entrepreneurism. If the last century was corporate, it was all Fortune 500 corporate. I think I also think, one of the things for me about the pandemic is that crisis interrupts all patterns.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I think, and I've actually, the president of Shopify said this in an article, that the
Another
impact.
great Canadian company. I just have to
Another great Canadian
put that out
company.
there.
Yes, yes. Well, and one I'm familiar with, because of course Shopify is helping brick and mortar get online, right, and rethink their business. But he said the impact of the pandemic was to forward their business plan by 10 years. And I think that's across the board. We are going to be embracing technology that we would have resisted because all the infrastructure has been disrupted.
Yeah.
But I also think we're going to look back on 2021 as the pivotal year to position for future growth. And either businesses are doing that and positioning, creating that 5-10-year plan and embracing, as you said, Phil, so many resources that are so inexpensive, or they're going out of business.
Yeah.
I think this year is going to be that dramatic of a shift.
Yeah, I agree with you fully that 2020 and 2021 will be the year that the entrepreneur flag, if you will, was started, because so many people have started that journey into becoming entrepreneurs, either doing it themselves or teaching other people how to be it and building a new business. Just as you've built different businesses and different products over time, this is it. You guys are now, I'll call you the OG, if you will, entrepreneurs who actually got their hands dirty when the internet was being born, like in 97 when you launched your first product. In 2007, you launched your second product, learned from that mistake, but, and it's just keep teaching you and teaching. And now you're sharing your knowledge with us, our new, younger entrepreneurs who always thought that it would have to be like what mom and dad did, where they went to the 9-to-5 job, got the house, had the kids. And now, because millennials pretty much are completely disrupted because of it's not working anymore, but becoming entrepreneurs is. So I love seeing that happening right now. And I love how you're one of the people supporting entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Just before we round out the episode, we are getting on that. I do normally ask my guests for a book recommendation that you think would help entrepreneurs. You've already mentioned Who Not How, I believe, or Who Not.
Yep. Who Not How.
Who Not How. Is there another book you like to suggest to the audience that you would recommend if they want to jump into the entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, I'd actually recommend any of Peter Diamandis's books. So his third one, actually his third book came out the same day as mine, which is the future is faster than you think. But I would probably start with Abundance. Abundance, maybe 5 years old now, but it's actually talking about how technology is shifting us to an economy of abundance from scarcity. That every time we deal with some level of scarcity, technology is flipping it. So our whole economic model is changing. So that was a brilliant book. And he talked about many, food, transportation, water, education. The second book, Bold, is building an exponential business. And his third then is The Future is Faster Than You Think. So any of those three are definite. Again, this is the year to future forward your business. You have to have an idea of what's coming.
Yeah, it's no longer the 1 to 2, 3 year plan. It's 5, 10 years, because you have to set it up for the technology will change. I love that. We're going to just end off here. I'm going to simply jump off stage. I'm going to give you the full last little bit to let my audience know where they can find you and how they can support you and learn from one of the OG entrepreneurs.
Awesome, Phil. So thank you. So you can reach me, pattimara.com. That's PATTIMARA.com. And there's lots of different resources on that. And I'm also going to give you kind of a hidden link that takes you to a podcast resource page. So if you go to pattimara.com/invest in yourself, that will take you to a page. There's a link there to buy the book if you're interested in the Up Solutions book. And I've got a free download that's a tool called the Touchpoint Scorecard. And it's a really simple and powerful tool that enables you to look at your business and different touch points in your business from your customer's perspective. So you can really take a look and shift from just delivering something to creating value with something. And it's a great tool to use yourself and also with your team. There's a short video that teaches you how to use the tool. And there's a spot there you can get in contact with me or join our Up Solutions Facebook group, where I'm actually very involved in answering questions. So again, pattimara.com or pattimara.com/invest in yourself. And it's been a pleasure, Phil, being with you today. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And my wish for all of your audience is to your success.
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you for setting up that hidden little link for my audience to learn even more and get that little exclusive from you. So thank you so much for offering that to my audience. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to be going on it now to check out and join the group as well, because I know just talking with you has been not only not life changing, but life enlightening about all these resources. I'm definitely going to be picking up Peter's books because more knowledge is important, and I love getting that extra knowledge. And if you learned something from it, and I've already learned stuff from you, I know I'm definitely going to learn a lot from it. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and my audience about your journey being an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Phil. An absolute pleasure being with you on your Invest in Yourself podcast. So thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. There will be an outro a little later. And again, thank you, Patti, and for listening. Have a great day and invest in yourself. Hey, I want to thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope you got so much value from it. I do have a small favor to ask of you. If you could all just go over to our Instagram page, that's at Invest in Yourself Pod. Just go over there, like the most recent episode or the episode that you listened to. Maybe leave a comment of what you took away from the episode. And make sure you follow us for all the latest episodes coming up. I thank you so much for just listening to the podcast. You guys make it worthwhile, and see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.